Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. I'm 41, male, divorced, and have a 9-year-old child from my previous marriage. He lives with my ex-wife, Marissa, 37, female. I married Marissa 9 years back. We lived together for 3 years and later divorced when we realized that the issues in our marriage would impact our son's mental health. The divorce was messy, and ever since then I have kept Marissa at a distance. If it weren't for my son, I would have completely cut her off from my life. After the divorce, I invested all my time and energy into the business that I was running. I had sacrificed my 20s to set up a successful business venture. My years with Marissa had drained my energy, and this had impacted my business. So I decided to stay single after the divorce. Our divorce was a messy affair. Marissa was unemployed throughout our marriage, and during the divorce proceedings, she was working minimum wage jobs. Also, our son was more attached to me than her. So I tried to get his custody, but she knew that she could hurt me only through my son. So she fought for his custody and won. I had to settle for the default visitation schedule in our state. Though it was thrilling for her to win the case against me, she soon learned that raising a child was no easy business. She had very poor money management skills. I was paying a good amount as child support, but she still struggled to build up a good life. This was her case, even before our marriage. I had met Marissa only twice before our marriage. She was working in the sales department of a bike shop, and I had just planned to start a healthy routine for myself. So I was there to buy a bike for my work commute. She was funny and jovial, and I liked her instantly. When I went back a week later for some minor shopping, she was getting off from work. I asked her out, and she said yes. We had dinner together that night, and she spent the night with me at my place. I'm not sure whether I thought about seeing her again. I got busy with my work, but I think our relationship would have remained an ONS if Marissa hadn't called me 3 weeks later to tell me she was pregnant. The next few months were a struggle. I decided to get to know her better. Though the pregnancy was unplanned, I knew I was equally responsible for raising the baby. Marissa was excited about the baby, and she was the one who proposed to me. We needed to stay together for the baby, so I said yes. She moved in with me after that and got married. Now, when I look back, I do feel that everything happened in a rush. I didn't even get to know the person I was marrying. I didn't even ask myself if I was in love with her. All that mattered to me was my baby. The rashness of my decision impacted our marriage. A month after the birth of our son, it became evident that we were terrible as partners. We hated each other so much. The only thing she cared about was my money. I saw her as part of my image's happily married businessman. We were unhappy for the 4 years we were married, so our divorce came as a relief. But that relief did not last long. She started playing my son against me. During our divorce procedures, Marissa had started dating her old friend from another state. She planned to move in with him, but the divorce provisions don't allow her to move to another state without my permission, since I was the non-custodial parent. She has been trying to get my permission for the past few years. It's not that I care about her going away. I could make time and visit our son as per the schedules as well. But I guess this was my idea of petty revenge. I denied her request to move out each time she raised it. She tried through legal means, which again did not help her. She even subtly mentioned the possibility of transferring our son's custody to me, but I wanted her to pay for whatever she did to me. When all her persuasion tactics failed, she started using our son against me. She began to deny me child visitation, and this went on for a few months. By my lawyer's advice, I continued paying child support. It wasn't easy to stay away from my son for that long, but I had a different plan. After a few months, I filed a court motion against her for withholding child visitation. I had to send her a message that when it came to my son, I had no plans to mellow down. I was going to fight for him. After this, she might have realized the extent to which I would go. I warned her that if she continued doing this to our son, I would file a case for parental alienation against her. She got the message, and for the next few months, the situation was a lot calmer. Whenever our son visited, I tried to talk to him as much as possible to avail details about how he was being raised. From whatever information I conjured from him, it was clear that Marissa was saving the child support money for herself. This was evident because Marissa's condition had not improved over the years. Either she was spending the money on something I had no information about, or she was saving it for her future. I was sending her 20% of my income as child support. A good amount of the money would remain unused after our son's expenses. I didn't sue her for this, but decided to save that information for later. But I looked at it as a way of paying off a mistake I made in the past. If I were a bit warier, I wouldn't have ended up in an unhappy marriage, so I was paying for the mistakes that I made in the past. The only good thing that has come out of my messed up past was my son. A major development happened yesterday. I woke up when I heard the doorbell early in the morning. My son was at my doorstep. That was strange because today was not part of my visitation schedule. He had all his bags packed. I took him in and made him breakfast. When I checked my phone, I saw that Marissa had sent me a text message. The content of the message was short. She asked me to take care of our son for a few months while she tried to set up a new life with her boyfriend in the state where he lived. Her tone was manipulative and aggressive. She made it sound like I was responsible for her situation. To be honest, I was happy to spend time with my son. I have always wanted to do that. But this woman had denied me custody of my son when I begged for it years ago. She had to pay for what she did, so I immediately called my lawyer. Things moved fast, and within the next few hours, we informed Marissa's lawyer about our plan to file a motion against her for child desertion. This was serious, and she could get into jail for 1 to 10 years. Marissa called me on the phone, but the way she talked broke my heart. She didn't blame me for anything, but elaborated on her situation. She was 37 and still working minimum wage jobs. She had no good job security in the place where we lived. She knew no one here. It was depressing for her to live here. She begged me to rethink my decision to restrict her plans to move. The phone call was emotional and it made me think. Am I the a-hole for restricting my wife from moving to another state with our son? Initially, I blamed myself for Marissa's condition, but upon thinking logically and discussing it with my lawyer, I decided to push forward with my complaint. She called me again, and lo and behold, her real self popped out. She was furious. But before disconnecting the call, she called me stupid for falling for her lies and marrying her while she had eyes only on my money. That shook my head and made me think back to the day Marissa revealed that she was carrying my baby. I had only met her once before that. I had no idea about her life, and I assumed that this woman was being honest with me about the baby. I never doubted the paternity of the baby. The next move is to file for a paternity test. 6 weeks have passed, and today I learned that the boy I have loved with all my life is not my son. Paternity test results are out. Marissa knew this the moment she got pregnant, but she wanted to take advantage of me. I can't believe how dumb I was to fall for such a scam. The judgment wrecked me emotionally. Marissa listened to the judgment with a smirk. I cried for almost an hour. My house is filled with his photos. But later today, I felt a sense of relief, a relief that only someone who has nothing to lose would feel. I have a wild guess that her current boyfriend would be the biological father of her child. I plan to gather as much evidence as possible and then hire a shark lawyer to sue her. That'll satisfy me for now. I still can't forget the smirk she had on her face when the judge read out the paternity test results. But with that came her fall. I stopped paying her child support. That was the first blow. After that, I sued her and her boyfriend for hoarding the money I sent her as child support. I asked for reimbursement. Furthermore, I filed a case against them for plotting against me for my money. She's now crying in the court for help. She's ugly crying now to win the sympathy of the court. But this time, she will pay for what she did. YTA, you're acting like a child. From your post, it's evident that you can find time to visit your child even if he moves to another state. Then what's preventing you from doing that? Your ex-wife would be stressed about being stuck in a place that gives her no space to move forward. That would impact your child as he lives with her. How can you say that your ex-wife fought to get custody of the child as revenge against you? Have you ever thought that she might be in love with the child as much as you? Act like an adult and let her move away with your child. ESH, your ex-wife is an a-hole for sure, but what are you doing? She had shown her interest in transferring custody to you. You deny that to teach her a lesson? So your priority is getting back at your ex-wife rather than finding a better life opportunity for your son. You should self-assess before judging others. I, 25, female, have been with my boyfriend, 25, male, since we were 19. When we were 23, he was injured in a skiing accident. His injuries were so severe that he was paralyzed from the neck down, and he has been semi-comatose ever since. Other than that, he can do very little. He is no longer there. His body is essentially functioning on autopilot. There are more medical issues, but I do not want to divulge his private information any more than I have to. We were planning to get married. I still love him very much. Since his accident, he has lived at the hospital and then with his parents. We lived together, but our fifth-floor apartment was not suitable for his needs, and I worked too much to care for him. His parents live 90 minutes out from our city. I visit 4 to 5 times a week, sometimes more if I can. It's been a point of contention between his mother and myself that I do not visit every day. I literally cannot do this with the hours I work, and I'm scared I will get in a road traffic accident driving in the dark and icy conditions. We live in a very snowy, icy state. His family basically lives on a mountain and runs a skiing resort, so the roads are terrifying. I work in a small and intensely competitive field. The salary I am on right now is fine for the city I live in, major U.S. city, but I could be earning almost double if I relocate. I've been offered an amazing job across the country. I really want to take it. When I told his mother about how I was considering this job, she lost it. She told me I was an awful person to consider moving away from him. She said I was betraying him by abandoning him and moving on. I told her that I couldn't just stop living because of what had happened. She started screaming at me. I am emphatic because I understand that she feels as though the world is moving on without him. I feel that way too. I am very conflicted. I am unsure if it is wrong to do this. Me and my boyfriend have promised we would marry each other. I do feel like I am abandoning him. WIBTA for taking the job? NTA, you need to get on with your life. From what you mentioned, it's unlikely he'll ever recover, which is very sad. However, he is well taken care of by his parents. His mother is living a nightmare. She doesn't want to be mean to you, but you need to understand what she's going through. It's nowhere near close to your pain. For a mother to see her son like that is heartbreaking. So she takes her frustrations out on you. The fact that you can continue with your life, don't blame her, but don't mind her comments either. Go live. NTA, this is an awful situation. I understand his mother's reaction is stemming from grief, and she most likely can't see how she is hurting you. But if your boyfriend is now basically brain dead, which is what I understood from your description, then there isn't much left to your relationship. I'm so sorry you're going through this. You do have the right to move on with your life and take the job. It is very understandable that you would feel guilty over this, but you need to do what is right for you. I doubt there is any other way out of such a traumatic situation. I hope you are able to move on and heal from this. NTA, things happen in life. Life is not fair. There is absolutely nothing wrong with a young 25-year-old wanting to move on from a relationship where your partner has literally become a paraplegic and has no brain function. You need to do what is right for you. You are young. You need to work and live your life. Sadly, this young man needs full-time care, and that is no life. His parents have chosen to be his carer, and that is their choice. It does not have to be your choice. I've been pretty worried about this, so I'd love some opinions. Today was my sister's, 28 female, birthday, and her husband, male 29, made plans to go out to dinner to a restaurant nearby. Their son is 6 months old, and they've only ever left him 3 times before. I've minded him each of those times. They're very stressed financially and conscientious about raising their child. Her policy has always been for me to text her as soon as he wakes up and then for me to attempt to soothe him while she rushes home. Only one of the times has he woken up before they've come back, and that was after maybe 2.5 or 3 hours. This time, however, he woke up about 20 minutes after they'd left the building. I didn't want to ruin their night, so I did my best to make sure he was as comfortable as possible and waited until they were finishing their dessert before I texted her. He was screaming a lot of the time, and I'm worried that I've emotionally traumatized him even though he wasn't hungry or anything. And I also know that my sister probably wouldn't be too happy as she never leaves him crying. But my thinking was that she'll never know, and her nice birthday dinner won't be ruined. But it may have been morally wrong and also damaging for my nephew. AITA? I was with him the whole time, apart from when I went to the bathroom, and I alternated between singing to him, making weird noises while he was in the cot and rocking him in my arms. He was probably crying for maybe 65% of the time, which was about 2 hours from when they left and came back. Edit. Thank you to the people who were kind. I'm not going to do it again, partly because it was extremely unenjoyable, I will admit. But it was also not a conscious decision from the beginning to go against her rules. I kept hoping he would go back to sleep or stop crying, which he did do for 5 or 10 minutes here and there. Then things would happen like the elevator doors opening, or he would think that my face actually wasn't funny after all, etc. Just to be clear, I of course did not leave him hungry with a dirty diaper. I also gave him plenty of cuddles and walked around with him and played some chill sati, which he likes, for a little while. I would never ignore him. That's borderline child abuse. I also know that he is healthy and getting on well for his age. My sister likes to discuss his schedule, doctor's visits with me, as well as small, everyday details about their lives on a regular basis. Also, we are close, but she would not take any suggestions well from me about anything as I am much younger than her. NTA. As a father to a 14-week-old, here is some advice. If the baby's been fed, if the baby's been changed, and if the baby is being attended to, but the baby is still crying, the baby is just fine. A screaming baby is a healthy baby. Put yourself in their shoes. They know nothing of this planet. That humming refrigerator to you might be a snarling monster to them. The sound you make walking, you just ignore it because you know you're walking. That baby hears Bigfoot. And there's nothing you can do to control that they have no concept. All they know is something scared them or someone's not familiar. Or I just feel like crying. Babies are weird, but damn, they're cute. NTA, it sounds like you are a good babysitter and you just didn't want to ruin your sister's birthday meal. You are not damaging your nephew. Babies cry. He won't remember this at all. He is only 6 months old. He was safe and just being a crying baby. It's no big deal. Don't worry about this. It's no big deal at all. You were thinking of your sister, who is probably exhausted and just needed a night out for her birthday to enjoy. And she didn't need to know. He was just crying. It's not like he was hurt or sick or anything. NTA, soothe until she rushes home. LOL. Really, stop everything and rush home? Babies are going to cry. It's how they communicate. She needs to leave a list of emergency numbers and let you know where they'll be and call if there's a problem. That's it. By the time she gets to 3 kids, the instructions will be, don't call unless you really have to.